mystery
in our history.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Mystery in Our History podcast, where we take an in-depth look at all things urban legend and conspiracy theory related and how they came to be. I'm J.R. Supa. That's Chris Berry. And here we go.
Here we go.
I'm not doing the Twitch Crispy
That's
OMG. I mean, I just did it, so I guess I did it. Check him out on Twitch at Crispy OMG. Fucking asshole. I am.
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
I know. I'm just an asshole. Like, why wouldn't I try to promote my co-hosts' endeavors of any kind? Like, I'm such a fucking jerk. You know what it is, Chris? I'm back on the sauce. I'm back on the sauce. I'm drinking the Bud Light seltzers. # not a sponsor.
Yeah. Listen, my channel is probably the only thing it's good for is probably driving viewers away. So it's okay. I get it. It's very low key and it sucks. Half the time I'm just playing and not saying shit. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
I will say though, your playthrough. So some of your playthroughs that you do are just fun as shit to watch because like you're funny as you go through them, and then the other ones are just like super interesting. Like I think I watched just about every minute of your Last of Us playthrough.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's such a good game, and I don't have PlayStation, and like it was just like a playthrough. It was really, for me, it was fun to watch.
Fun game.
Anyway, this week, Chris and I wanted to do something a little different. So we found a bunch of first-hand ghost encounters and ghost stories, but nothing that was like building to a full episode. Or like for haunted places, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like a bunch of ghost stories at this particular place, so we couldn't do an episode on just one place. So instead, we thought we would just take turns reading some of these stories. Also, we have another listener submission for you guys that we'll play at the end of the episode. But keep in mind, with the exception of the listener episode, or the listener submission, listener episode. Dude, stop drinking.
No, keep drinking.
With the exception of the listener submission, all of these stories are submitted to a third party, and then so we have no proof that any of them are actually true.
No.
So with that, let's get started.
Yeah, let's just dive right in.
All right, story number 1. I'm taking story number 1,
All
right? You're going to do number 2?
Yeah,
right.
We'll just swap off.
Sounds good. My sister and I were staying in an old historic hotel in the middle of nowhere, Montana. I think I've actually stayed at this hotel. Like, not all jokes aside, I
Oh, really?
yeah, I've been. Well, it depends on where in Montana, but I stayed in a haunted hotel in Montana. I didn't have any ghost encounters, so there's nothing more to write home about. But anyway,
at least you tried.
Exactly. The building had been in use since the 1800s. My sister loves this place and has frequented it many times over the years. I was kept up all night by someone pacing around on the hardwood floors in the room above ours. It drove me crazy. In the morning, I asked my sister how she could sleep through it, and she told me that the upstairs of the building used to be a ballroom, but now it's carpeted and completely empty. The hotel staff confirmed that nobody was up there, and furthermore, if they were, I wouldn't have heard heels on a hardwood floor. Weird, Christy.
Thanks, Christy. Yeah.
I mean, stuff like that, that kind of stuff, for me, is like a believable ghost story.
A lot more believable than like, I saw someone watching me sleep. It's just like...
Right. Or like, like you said before we started filming, I woke up, I took a shit, I got out of bed, my poop was a ghost.
Yeah. Just, the daily routine of waking up, taking a shit, getting out of bed.
That's right. Clearly a ghost. Clearly a ghost.
Clearly a ghost.
All right. Take number 2.
All right. So I was at a slumber party in 8th grade with a few of my friends when we decided stupidly to have a seance in her unfinished basement. We were having fun and giggling when we were trying to figure out who to summon when someone suggested Jack the Ripper, the serial killer from the late 1800s, and I immediately got a pit in my stomach. No, I spoke up. We shouldn't summon something evil. That's right, a man's voice called from the other side of the cellar. There were no boys or men there. We were all home alone. Another girl and myself heard it. I'll never be the same. Abby. Thanks, Abby.
Thanks, Abby.
They'll never be the same.
Oh, yeah, I mean, obviously, if Jack the Ripper fucking talked to you from the corner of a cellar.
Yeah.
I call BS because I feel like it's very rare that the ghosts, like, talk to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, audibly.
Especially without having one of those, like, silly Ghost Adventures speaker box that's it sounds like he's saying, let's fight, and then they're just like, did you hear that? And it's just like, they play it like 30 times, just like, that's right, that's right, that's right. It's like, included audio.
Yeah, here's what I think. Here's what I think happened. I think they're in 8th grade. They're listening to Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Nice, okay.
All right. Thriller comes on, and then it's the end of Thriller where, like, that creepy dude's voice is happening.
Yep, Vincent Price there.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what they heard, and because they were freaked out about, like, using the fucking Ouija board or whatever the hell they're using, having a seance, they heard that and they freaked out. That's what I'm going with. It's Michael Jackson's Thriller, and they're idiots.
Hell yeah. Unrelated note, I totally found this at Goodwill. Michael Jackson's Dangerous on tape. Dude, look at that fucking thing,
nice.
Dude. Yeah, dude, I've been playing that. $1. I also found Thriller at Goodwill on record for $1. You can find some cool shit sometimes.
Yeah, Goodwill's awesome.
Most of the times it's absolute dog shit toilet paper, but sometimes find something
every
cool.
once in a while you get a nice little gem.
Yeah.
You get a diamond in the shit.
Diamond in the shit. That's right. You really have to sift through the shit to find that diamond, man. I'm telling you, you get some in your mouth sometimes. It's terrible.
God.
I'm loopy today,
this
guys.
This is gonna be one of those episodes. You're loopy.
Shit.
I'm drunk. Yep. Let's get this going. Number 3, people.
Let's do it.
My family traveled to the south of France to stay in a cottage owned by someone my dad worked with. The owners visited occasionally, but that summer it was free and we had 10 days booked in there. After a long 2 days on the road, we drove. I mean, where are you? You drove to France? After a long 2 days on the road, we drove down a steep driveway towards a secluded mill cottage with the water wheel. With the water wheel sitting static alongside the stone house. There was a deep cellar with stone stairs down under the wheel next to the house, and a small river circled the place. We went into the house and chose rooms, but being set down in a small copse? I guess it's copse. I don't know. The house was draught and cold from lack of use. We settled in and turned all the heat on, yet the house remained cold and felt damp. The first night, we had set a fire in the living room and listened to a couple of audiobooks before my sister and I went to sleep. My parents stayed up a little longer, then went to bed. Around midnight, they both woke up at exactly the same time, and the door to their bedroom was opening slowly. At first, they thought it was my sister, until they saw a large, dark silhouette of a man framed in the doorway, standing stock still, just looking in their direction as if appraising them. After a short period, the shape turned and started to move, as if satisfied, and disappeared. They looked at each other, but didn't speak, and both went back to sleep. I have so much to say about this. The next morning, the house felt warm and dry, and sunlight was back through the windows, as if something had lifted and accepted them. They spoke the next day and both agreed that although they were skeptics, it could not have been anything other than something supernatural in that doorway, deciding their worth. Dave. Okay.
Deciding their worth.
Here's my problem with
Okay,
this whole
lay it on
fucking
me.
thing. Oh, man. JR's hot takes, baby.
All right, let's see. I'm ready for these hot takes. Juice up and let me know.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Number one, your
Okay.
entire family, including your 2 children, are in a home where you wake up and see a strange figure in your doorway. Okay?
Okay.
You don't move. Then the figure turns and walks away. And you're telling me you don't get the fuck up and go see what's going on and make sure your kids are okay? You go
Yeah.
back to bed?
Yeah.
You look at your fucking spouse and go, meh, it's France, and fucking go back to sleep. What the
Probably just
fuck?
Pierre from down the road.
Are you kidding me?
No, that's fair because yeah, I mean you wouldn't at least get up and investigate and be like, maybe someone was in this weird creepy house in the attic or in some unknown crawl space
Some
or whatever.
squatter, like it says flat out, the
Yeah.
place doesn't get used.
Yeah, right.
So you're telling me that some squatter couldn't have just been like, oh shit, people are here? Fuck. Gotta go into the attic. And then comes down and is like, yeah, you guys are cool.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, all right. I do the same thing from time to time. It's no big deal.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You guys making eggs in the morning? All right.
Just don't
Crepes?
piss the bed. all
Crepes?
right?
Anybody want crepes?
Oh, crepes and grapes in the morning.
Fucking stupid, bro. And then the next day, it's nice and warm in the house. Okay, number one, the house is never fucking used, and it's in a, what do they call it? A small cups, which I have no idea what the fuck that means. I didn't look it up. I don't care.
And we're not gonna.
And we're not gonna look it up because I still don't care. But the fucking thing doesn't get used. It's gonna take a long fucking time to get the damp and the heat out of it. Especially if it's like a stone fucking building that's been there for however long it's been there, right? So like, and so you lit a fire, that'll heat the house. So by the next morning, yeah, the fucking heat kicked in, bro. Are you kidding me? Just
No.
fucking.
Yeah.
This one, I would not buy this if I was Mark Cuban on Shark Tank.
Nice. Good reference.
Because that guy invests in everything.
Everything, dude.
Everything.
I don't give a shit.
Him and the guy from Fubu just fucking say yes to everything. They're like, yeah, I like it. But I want half of what you're asking and double the equity. I love that show.
Jesus.
That show's so great. Who's the bald guy? Because I forget the bald guy's name, but he is such a dick, and I love him for it. Because
I don't know.
somebody else would be like, "Don't look at this as a failure," because nobody offered anything, and he's like, "No, look at it as a failure. This is a failure. You failed." They're just sitting there like obviously he's trying to be motivational, like, right? You failed, learn from this, build on this. But the way he just says, he's like, no, this is a fucking failure. You suck.
You failed. Fuck off.
Oh my God, so good. Anyway,
There.
story number 4.
Number 4. All right. So it starts off. I used to live at this address, 1122 Fake Street, Jokeville, Louisiana, 69420.
Is there a niner
The
in
house
there?
is
Did I just hear a niner in there?
69420. Jokeville, 1122 Fake Street.
Anyway, what's your phone number? 8
Yeah.
7 niner. Did I hear a niner in there?
Totally just slip that in real quick.
Anyway, sorry.
So continues. The houses were built to the people building the railway in Derby in the 1800s. They only found this out after they left the house, thankfully. It was a creepy house, really foreboding to every... God damn it. I am killing it. Really foreboding, and every time I washed my hair in the shower, every time I opened my eyes, I'd expect something to be there.
It's a
Anyway.
creepy way to live.
Yeah, right? Seriously. That's when you're going to just, wash your hair with the eyes wide open, like like Rockwell would do. You know Rockwell?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
When he's in the shower?
Yeah, I'm just
Ready
saying.
to wash his hair?
Yeah.
You know, his eyes and see someone standing there.
Yeah.
Anyway, people think he's crazy, but he's just a little touched.
Waka.
Anyway, I came back from an afternoon lecture one afternoon, opened the door, walked up the first flight of stairs, and saw a wet handprint on the floor. A really wet handprint. It was a bit like, very strange at the moment, but I didn't freak out. It was just out of the ordinary. So I walked up to see my housemate, Ed. I opened the door, and he was on the phone to his girlfriend, not crying, but massively in distress. That was when the penny dropped. He told me that he was walking up the stairs earlier carrying a glass of water, and he felt something cold go through him, almost a push, causing him to drop the water. He picked up the glass and ran upstairs to his room. And the water falling out of the glass had created a handprint on the floor, literally a handprint. Every digit was in proportion. I did freak out at this moment as I put two and two together. I told everyone to get out of the house, which we did, but then sheepishly returned after a FIFA session around another friend's house. See, I already don't believe that because no one's going to watch FIFA.
No, they were playing FIFA.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes a little bit more sense. All right. It was a genuinely terrifying. Might not sound it, but it was, and all true. If someone offered me $50 to go back and spend the night there by myself, despite the fact I lived there for a year with almost no incident, I wouldn't. There was something there that didn't want 6 college guys there. Unfortunately, I don't have a photo of the handprint. This was in 2012, prior to the culture of taking photos / selfie of literally everything. I wish I had. And that was from Alex. And I'm just going to say right now, 2012 was not too early for that. That was really like 2 years into it.
Yeah, but it was still like, there was no like Instagram in 2012, I don't think, was there?
Yeah, like no Instagram, but there was still that was like the time
Like
of
Facebook
smartphones.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
smartphones had been like started to come out and stuff like that. Like, would I have liked to see a picture of the handprint to make this believable to me? Yes.
Right.
But it's not out of the realm of possibility for me. I feel like that is more believable than some of the other ones we fucking looked at. I just love the arbitrary number that he like throws in.
Which
That
one?
he's like, oh, I wouldn't go back there for $50.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, I wouldn't go
50
back there for
fucking
$50 either.
Right? Yeah. Like, okay, so clearly you believe the
My
house
time
is
is worth
haunted.
more than that.
Yeah. How much is it? Like, I would have said, like, you have to put like $100,000 or just some larger number on the table to be like, I wouldn't go back there for fucking $50. Well, obviously,
Yeah.
you're scared shitless of the house. You think it's haunted. Of course, you're not gonna go back for $50 fucking dollars. Jesus.
I wouldn't go back in that house for a 10 bag of weed. It's just like, okay, yeah, like what the fuck? Me
Oh.
either.
So arbitrary.
It really is.
But that was a little more believable. Anyway. Number 5. When I was a kid, we lived in a haunted house. Strange things happened all the time. For example, my dad and I were alone in the kitchen one day making a snack. We put a plate on the kitchen counter and walked away to the fridge. We got what we wanted out of the fridge, turned around to walk back to the counter, and the plate flew off the kitchen counter and broke on the floor. Like before you came back or like as you were coming back? My dad tried to call me by saying the plate must have been blown off the counter, but blown off the counter? Plate wasn't anywhere near the edge of the counter. There are no windows or doors open. No one else was home. And again, weird.
I know. I like how many of those are in here.
I know. I also woke up to an old lady standing by my bed on more than one occasion. I told myself I was dreaming. Was it just your grandma, bro? This part might be dark, but here's the rest of the story. Years later, I looked up the address and found that an old couple lived there for many years right before we moved in. Apparently, the house was broken into and the old woman was raped and murdered. Holy fuck. The old man sold the house and moved. obviously. We were the first occupants since the incident. WTF! Exclamation point. We only lived there for about a year. My parents swear we moved so quickly because we got a better deal on another house nearby, but we know it was because the house was haunted and the priest they brought in to bless the place told us we should move. No joke, Christy.
Christy,
Dude.
there's just a lot going on there, man.
There is a lot going on there, number one. Number two, I feel like Christy is the same person that submitted the Montana because they're both named Christy.
Mm.
And they both
said weird?
Weird.
Weird.
So I think that's the same person, which now makes me believe she's an attention seeker and not being haunted.
Maybe. So,
because this is two separate places that this Christy has been encountering the paranormal.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no last names or anything, so it could be
True.
anyone, but I'm going to say, I mean, I don't really have a high belief in ghosts personally. So this one, the plate, weird, sure, I don't know. But
the plate sounds like something that's just like out of Paranormal Activity. Like anyone that saw Paranormal Activity could come up with that.
Yeah. And also, again, if it happened when you turned and walked away, anything could have happened. Any article of clothing could have snagged it, pulled it off.
Do you have a cat?
Yeah, maybe you have an animal, something. If you were at the fridge and maybe it slid off and, who knows. But,
right. But that's what I'm saying.
Then,
like, did you turn around and you were on your way back to the counter and all of a sudden the plate just moved? At that point, fucked up.
Also, is it really just that easy to look up, like, who lived in your house before? Like, because I've never done this.
I mean, I think,
I just bought
what
a
did she
house
say?
not too long ago.
Years later, I looked up the address. So, I mean, if you type in the address and like a terrible murder or something happened there, the address would probably like come up with like a news article or something.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, again, apparitions, I'm less likely to believe.
I'm more likely to believe the ones that don't talk to you.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And then, I mean, for fuck's sake, dude, I think, for me, listen, maybe it's just me, but for me, a priest in the house busting in place and telling them they should move, no joke, that's just kind of puts it over the edge.
Yeah, it's like the fucking Exorcist. It's like out of a movie. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this stuff seemed like it was just taken out of a movie. Like, oh, a priest came and told us to move.
Yeah, how common do you call a priest up and you're just like, hey, bro, I had a plate fall off my counter. You want to come bless the place?
Yeah, hey, Father, we're we got plates falling off counters. Do you mind just, exorcising the demons?
Burn some sage up in this bitch and get it on out, because I had a couple plates and then
listen,
I saw
buddy,
a lady
bring
next to my
the
bed.
swingy thing with the frankincense, okay? Just bring that in there. Get all
the corners.
Yeah, just sing Ave Maria as you're going through the house, swinging the fucking the ball and chain, and have a day, huh?
We can hold on. I'll do the next one for you. Ready? Number 6.
All right. I like it. Do it. All right.
That was a shout out to Chills. Chills, if you're watching this, I mean, come on, bro, give it a shout out. Don't never look up Chills. I mean, do it if you want. I don't give a shit. It's free country.
Sweet fucking story, bro.
Just read the fucking story. What are you doing? All right. In college, I was part of our drama club, and we used a 100-plus-year-old opera house in downtown. What was that? Bidford, Maine.
Call it Biddeford.
Bidford, yeah. As our theater. Also represent New England. Love this place. Anyway, so I was there alone doing work on the set for our next show, and of course, being in a theater alone is creepy as it gets. The theater was old enough to have wooden walkways above the stage that went from one side to the other.
Nice. That's not dangerous.
Yeah, not at all, right? As I'm painting, I could have sworn I heard someone run across them multiple times. I try to block it out, but that is nearly impossible. Just as I'm about to finish, I hear something fall from above the stage. Even though I couldn't find anything, it convinced me enough that I was done for the day. Apparently, there's a story of a ghost of an opera singer that died there on Halloween. Before that, I never believed in ghosts. Mike.
All right, Mike, here's the deal. Phantom of the Opera is a wonderful, wonderful Broadway show. So stop stealing things from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And if you hear footsteps and you're supposed to be alone in the theater, why would you try to block it out?
Yeah.
Like, that's so, like, really, bro?
So this is the argument I get into a lot when it comes to ghosts and investigating ghosts and all this shit. Now, like, obviously, ghost adventures and ghost hunters and all that shit on TV.
Right. It's all scripted. It's fucking scripted.
It's all for views.
Yes.
It's not. I mean, whether or not the place is haunted or not.
Beside the point. It's totally beside the point.
I have only seen in my time watching silly like YouTube ghost videos and all this shit, I have only seen one motherfucker chase a ghost. That's what I would do. If I thought I saw a ghost, I would literally run after it and be like, I need to catch this shit on tape. Like, I need to find it. I found one guy
I don't mind not chasing the ghost. Because, like, if it's a ghost, like, you have every right to be fucking terrified and bounce
especially
the fuck out.
If you're not hunting them.
Right. If you're if you're a ghost hunter, you chase the fucking ghost. That's the point of being a ghost hunter. That's like saying, I'm a deer hunter, and I found the deer, and now I'm going to run away from it. That's fucking
I'm gonna
stupid.
Let it live.
Right. It's stupid. Like, but if you're just involved in a paranormal event, right, and like you think there's a ghost, it's okay to be fucking terrified, unless you're the douchebag in France that doesn't check on his kids after seeing a strange shadowy figure in his doorway. Fuck that guy. You have a bad father, which I think his name was Alex. Fuck your dad, Alex.
Alex, if you're listening to this, come at us, bro.
You have a shit father. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're a nice guy. I'm sure your dad did many good things for you. He's a shit dad. He saw a fucking stranger in his doorway and looked at his wife and went,
right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
If you're supposed to be alone in a building and you hear footsteps above you on a rickety fucking termite wooden walkway, bounce.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro. I'm out. Have a nice day.
Sorry, I was here by myself. I thought I heard someone in here. I'm sure it was nothing, but for my own safety, I got out.
Had to get out.
Who's gonna be like,
and call the cops.
You left.
No, call the fucking cops. That's all you got to do is you call the police, and the police come and say, we checked, there's nobody here. All right, well, by that time, it's the end of the fucking day. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day. Then you tell the owner, the person, whatever, your boss, I'm uncomfortable being in this place by myself. I heard footsteps, whether or not it was somebody there or not. I heard them, and I'm not comfortable being alone in this building.
Yeah.
Done.
Absolutely. I agree.
And then you get fired, and you sue them for wrongful termination, and you win because they did not have a reason to fire you because you were afraid to be alone in a building. Anyway. Number 7. And this is all, by the way, like, I'm not the person that's saying this. Okay, get ready for this story. So I was closing up the bar one night after a long shift, and I was carrying a rack of glasses into the kitchen. I slipped on the wet floor I had just mopped, like an asshole, fell to the floor, and let out an instinctual, ah! Immediately after, as I'm sitting on the wet floor, I hear a low-pitched moan. It was so audible that I actually thought it was a real person. This was startling, considering I was the only person left in the bar. I stood up, completely frozen. How would you stand up if you're completely frozen? And yelled, "Hello?" Again, immediately, I hear the same low-pitched moan, except this time It was louder. Now I'm starting to freak out a little bit. I actually got goosebumps because I bartended, and this kind of freaks me out because I've always been freaked out by like being the last person there.
That's fair.
Now I'm starting to freak out a little bit. But for whatever reason, I decide to walk closer to where I heard the sound coming from. Again, this is where I don't believe shit, right? I'm fucking terrified. I am walking out, locking the door. Have a nice fucking night. I'll come back in the morning and clean. Eat me. Anyway, I yell very loudly, "Hello!" For the third time, I now hear a very loud, low-pitched moan. That was it for me. I ran, like that's what it took, 3 strikes. I ran back into the kitchen, grabbed the biggest kitchen knife I could find because that seemed like logical at the time. Haha. Grabbed my purse. Oh, it was okay, female. Even like that, okay, good for her. Whatever. Grabbed my purse, ran out the door, and never looked back. It was funny trying to explain to the chef the next day why he was missing a knife during his morning prep. Okay.
Yeah, right.
The creepiest part? I come to find out there was some sort of accident that occurred at the restaurant years before with the son of the owner, and word around town was that he died right there in the bar. True freaking story. Cat.
I'm sure it's true to you, Cat.
I feel like if you have to fucking emphasize true story at the end of it, it makes it so much not true for me.
Yeah.
Like if you have to say true story, hand to God, true story, I think it's just a load of bullshit.
Swear on my grandma, bro. Swear on my grandma. It's a true story, right?
Fucking yeah. Tony Bag of Donuts.
Yeah. Tony Bag of Donuts. Yeah, I mean, again, the whole... See, because I'm not... Me personally, I'm not sure if I thought I was alone. Like, okay, I work alone a lot at my current job. I'm in an office environment, and sometimes I'm there late. I was there last Friday by myself until 8:30 at night, just hanging out, doing my work, whatever. I was the last person in the building, and we have a door where people can come and go as they please. It's like a code door. So any staff member can come in and pick up gear for the next day and leave. So, you're sitting there, you're working, and sometimes I do hear something from the back, and I don't know what it is. I don't think the place is haunted. That's not my first go-to. I just sometimes think I hear the door, or I think I hear someone in the back hall shuffling around with gear. I always just think it is. And I go, hello, and I get up and I go take a look. And if there's no one there, I just go, and I just go back and sit down and just do my work. There's never been a time where I was just deathly afraid like that. Yeah. But like every time I hear something, I get up to investigate it. It's not like I'm like... You know
what though? At the same time, like every time you go to investigate and you say hello, you don't get a
That's true.
coming back at you.
Yeah, because if I got that, I'd just be like, okay, well, I think I'm done for tonight.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and head out now.
Yeah.
Ta-ta, everyone.
I think I would probably just chalk that up to sleep deprivation and just get the fuck out of there. Yeah. Time to go home.
Story number 8.
Number 8. My house was fraught with weird stuff happening when we first moved in. The kitchen table would move overnight 12 to 18 inches. My keys would disappear and show up in the weirdest places, like my quilt trunk. Okay, like
a trunk where you keep the Afghans.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. My son Christopher, not my son, but Barbara's son Christopher, went to the basement, and things came flying off the shelf at him. He also saw someone walking on our wraparound porch once, but no one was there.
Oh, must be nice. Wraparound porch. Fancy.
Yeah, right. Sounds fancy. The most obvious one was a few years ago. Twice this happened. I was sweeping the kitchen floor. The door to the porch started shaking uncontrollably. It was like someone was trying to open the door without turning the knob. Lasted about 15 seconds. Keep in mind this was a wraparound porch, completely enclosed. I knew it was bad because my dogs, who will bark at a butterfly flying past the window, all looked up at the door and stepped back. Both times it happened, I was doing the same thing about the same time at night. By the way, as a side note, I walked into the kitchen table one night while going to the bathroom. It was not the first time I walked into the kitchen table because it had moved. So I just said, please stop moving the kitchen table, and it never moved again. And that is from Barbara.
All right. The doorknob thing is fucking creepy. If
The
that
doorknob
happened.
thing?
That's because that's just like in every suspense thriller horror movie. Like that's in everything. So like if that happened, yikes.
Yeah. See, if I saw somebody walking around on my porch, I wouldn't think ghost immediately. I think intruder.
Yeah.
Just plain and simple. I wouldn't be like, oh, there's a ghost on my porch. I'd be like, there's a motherfucker trying to get inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. It's just one of those
but
things. I do believe.
Well, go ahead.
The stop moving the kitchen table, and it never moved again. I don't know, man. I do that. Something about that just makes me laugh and just like, sure, why not?
Yeah, it makes well. And the funny thing is that like that's depending on the type of ghost you have, like that could be all it takes, right?
Yeah.
The ghost is just trying to amuse themselves because they're stuck there for all eternity. And you're just like, listen, could you please stop doing this? Like, I'm getting hurt, and it never happens again. Okay, cool. You know?
Yeah, you got a pretty chill ghost.
Right. But yeah, no, fuck the doorknob thing. That would freak me out.
Yeah, it's a little.
And the shit just flying off the shelves at him, at her son, not your son, Christopher.
Yeah, not my son. I don't have a son. I am Christopher, and I am someone.
Is your mom's name Barbara?
No, it's Abby. But not the Abby from the beginning of this episode.
Okay. Story.
Just going way off the fucking rails.
Story number 9. We get, you know what? This is the 45th episode. We get to do a throwaway. I don't care.
You know, I wouldn't even call it a throwaway. You know, we're just having a little bit of fun here.
But that's what I mean. It's not a traditional MIOH episode.
Yeah.
It's just us fucking off for a day.
Dude.
Like listen, ladies and gentlemen, we are phoning it in, okay? We're phoning it in. I pulled a bunch of ghost stories off the internet. They're first-hand encounters, mind you. And we're reading them.
Yeah.
Story number 9. A few years ago, my parents went through a very difficult separation. We moved into a smaller house, and by the end of the first day, my youngest brother, who was about 5 years old, seemed to change completely. Okay. He went from being a rambunctious troublemaker to a very quiet child. Well, I mean, kids go through personality changes.
I was going to say, also, it's not like a divorce really affects a 5-year-old at all, right?
True story, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 6, but whatever. At first, we thought that was great because the kid had been driving us crazy, because, you know, that's the way to look at it. But even...
Yeah, who wrote this? Just like the coldest person. Jesus.
But even 2 weeks after the move, we began to feel a little concerned that he wouldn't go back to the kitchen or the backyard alone. Well, I mean, it's a new house, right? Yeah. Kid's scared. One day, some friends came over and we spent the whole afternoon playing in the yard. My brother was having so much fun that he didn't even realize it was getting dark. So, you're in your backyard. Suddenly, he went white as a sheet and started to cry, saying that there was a scary boy with a messed up face on the roof calling out to him. Fuck that. 2 days later, a neighbor told us shortly before we had moved in, the couple who lived there went out one night and left their 6-year-old son locked inside. The kid tried to make something to eat and ended up setting fire to the kitchen. The neighbors managed to put out the fire, but the child apparently died right there in the yard. When my mom got back to the house, she started to frantically scrape the kitchen wall, and lo and behold, under the white paint was a burned wall. We moved out a few days later. Okay. Number 1,
Hmm.
I'd like to know where this takes place because very few places in the country, I feel like, would have parents leaving a 6-year-old by themselves in
And
the
being like,
house.
hey, if you're hungry, fend for
In the
yourself.
house, yeah, without any like food, without like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's because like we in our neighborhood, right? Like some parents that have older kids, like we haven't done this since Logan was born because we're in a pandemic and we don't hang out with anybody anyway. But before this pandemic, like when we would all be hanging out before Logan was born, some parents have like 5-year-olds or 4-year-old and a 2-year-old or whatever. They would put them to bed and then they would go across the street to the neighbor's house, right?
Sure.
Because the kid's out cold. And they have like the long distance monitor with like the video and all that kind of stuff. Like
Of
for
course.
me, like I can leave the house and still see Logan's camera from my phone.
Yeah.
His
Yeah,
baby
of course.
monitor. Like that's the way I set it up. So like we would do stuff like that. But like who in their right fucking mind just leaves a 6-year-old in the house by themselves? And what was that kid trying to make?
So you lit the house on fire? I mean, anything. Anything with the stove, I guess, really.
Yeah, I mean, he turned the stove on, he burned. Now the other thing is that he didn't burn the house down. He just lit a fire in the kitchen. So the kid lights a fire in the kitchen. How does this go from fire in the kitchen to dead in the yard?
Good question.
Like where I need more of the background story.
Yeah.
There's not enough in this for me to be like, oh, that's believable because, you know what I mean? Like the house burned down and they rebuilt it on, where it was and the kid died and blah, blah, blah. It's like the kid lit a fire in the kitchen, tried to fend for himself and died right here in the yard. What? It's like cut to in the lake.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
What the fuck was that movie? What was that movie? It had
What
Paul
movie?
Rudd and Jennifer Aniston and Jordan Peele was in it. It was something I can't remember. It was the one where Paul Rudd just stares in the mirror and talks like, I'm gonna break off a piece of my dick.
It sounds good. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's a hilarious movie, but he lets Jordan Peele borrow the car. Please, somebody comment what the name of this fucking movie so I don't go nuts. He lets Jordan Peele borrow the car. It's like a community. They like just happen upon this commune of people, and Jordan Peele borrows their car, and then it's just like in the lake. Like it's just a new scene, and the car's just in the lake. And he's like, what happened? He was like, well, I was driving, and cut to in the lake. He's like, but how did it end up in the lake? Well, see, what I did was when I was driving and I was driving and then cut to in the lake. It's like, no, don't cut to. Tell me what happened.
I need between there. No, that sounds awesome. Whatever movie you're talking about.
It's I have to look it up. It's really good. You got to watch it.
But also, let's be honest. 5 years old, that's still like pretty young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's not independent. That's not. They're still a kid, man. They're not even in school yet.
Name a 5-year-old who like doesn't have an imaginary friend.
Right. And also, again, it's like, okay, there was a separation. The kid was now different and quiet. And, they won't go into the kitchen or backyard alone. It's like that. That's all reasonable behavior for a 5-year-old, especially after a very difficult
separation. And the kid has a fucking personality change.
Right.
And they're like, oh, it's a difficult separation. They moved into a new house. God knows where, right? It might be in a new school district or whatever. Like the kid has no friends now or anything. So like, yeah, the kid's going to go through a fucking change.
Yeah.
You ever think the kid's just sad? Mommy and daddy aren't together anymore?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. This
This one wasn't
Natasha,
believable. This one
your
wasn't
story has a
believable
lot
for
of
me.
loopholes.
Yeah.
Again, because then it goes on to say the 6-year-old was locked inside. He tried to make something to eat, ended up setting the house on fire. Then the neighbors managed to put the fire out with the door locked, and then the child died in the yard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Story.
And then they moved a few days later because it's just that easy.
Right, exactly. They just got the fuck out.
Yeah,
you know what's crazy is you didn't even have to wait for the 30 days for the fucking mortgage to clear.
But on Craigslist.
Story number 10.
All right. Story number 10. I live with a ghost. I rented a furnished house for a hell of a great price, and afterward I started hearing some sinister noises in the attic, like footsteps or something heavy being dragged. I called the exterminator, and he said that everything was okay. After a little while, I started to realize that the cabinets in my kitchen simply won't stay closed. Every time that I got home, more and more drawers and doors were left open.
This is actually Paranormal Activity.
Yeah. Then one day I got home from work. All of the doors in my wardrobe in the bedroom were open. I called a pastor friend of my grandmother to pray over the house. It didn't work. And the ghost started to turn the lights on and off as well as the TV while I was watching it.
Oh, what a dick.
Right? Sounds like a bad ghost roommate. I did some research on the history of the house and discovered that a young lady had once died there, but I still don't know how the death came about. I've been living there for a year and 7 months. For now, I'm just putting up with my supernatural roommate, particularly since they've never done anything to cause me harm except for make a big mess. And that is from Amanda Fidalgo.
Amanda Fidalgo. I mean, that one's relatively believable, but like, I feel like I literally have seen what she's describing in Paranormal Activity.
Right. Again, the whole like, all my cabinets are opening and closing, and my wardrobe is opening and closing, and they're also turning the lights on and off, and the TV's going on and off, and something's being dragged upstairs. It just seems like so much for a ghost.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Again, that just comes with the territory of being a huge skeptic, I guess.
Yeah. Story number 11. Once when I was lying in bed, I felt someone press up against me and whisper in my ear. I don't know where I found the courage to say, "Get out of here." Later on, I felt the same person again. So I called my grandmother to come sleep in my bed with me. As soon as she came, this phantom presence disappeared. Ricardo Moreno. This phantom presence was your uncle, bro.
Holy shit. You just turned it into a ghost to suppress it.
It's a suppressed memory, dude. You got molested.
Fuck, dude.
You got molested by your fucking uncle.
This got dark. Oh, man. This got very dark.
Oh. This...
You doing shit. Anyway.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Story number 12.
Get up on that bitch. All right. So, at my great aunt's house, whenever it is exactly 6 p.m., the doorbell rings right at the time for Holy Mass and saying prayers. But she knows nobody is there because the corridor has a motion sensor and the lights don't go on. Priest has even been there to investigate, but the doorbell didn't stop ringing, and that's from Isabel. It's short and sweet. It doesn't feel like you're trying to fluff it up too much.
No, this one actually is
I could buy
believable.
I don't know. It could be
unless somebody pranked you with just a fucking doorbell that like is programmed.
Right. Or you just maybe have a wonky wire or something.
Right.
I don't know.
But it's the time. It's that it's the same time every day, as opposed to just like a loose wire that just makes it go off every once in a while.
Right. Yeah. Or some. I don't know. It sounds like it's one of those smart doorbells too, like the because they have a motion sensor and a camera.
Yeah,
Oh no, there was no camera. So there's a motion sensor. I don't know. Whatever.
it's pretty cool. I mean,
Yeah,
that one's
sure.
that one's pretty
I'd buy it.
believable. It's,
Yeah.
it's more believable than Uncle
Um,
Toucher, that's for sure.
Yeah. Still, again, the whole priest been there to investigate.
Yeah,
That just seems
but,
weird to me.
but at the same
Do
time,
people
like,
really have priests
look at
over to
the
their house?
names though, like Isabella Pavao. Like,
Yeah. Okay.
Hispanic people are generally more religious.
That's fair.
So I think like it makes more sense that like the priest is coming to like check shit out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Story number 13. When I moved to Sao Paulo, my husband and I slept on the floor of his parents' house because we couldn't both fit in the single bed. One day, I woke up in the middle of the night, looked under the bed, and saw my dead mother, only she was very much alive. She extended her hand towards me, and when I reached out, she started burning. I screamed and woke my in-laws up, my husband, and even the neighbors. Leticia Amaro.
Leticia,
Dude,
your mom's in hell, I'm guessing.
I don't know what the fuck is going on there. Like, she
Right.
started burning? Sorry, Leticia. Like, I don't even know where to go with that one. That one's
Yeah,
just
me either.
fucking
I
scary.
don't. Yeah, that just sounds like your mom's probably in a really bad place.
Yeah.
Like.
'Cause, I mean, she had already died. You
She's-
moved to a new place, right? She moved to Sao Paulo, so that's not where she's from, which means that's not where her mom was.
Yeah.
And her mom followed her to Sao Paulo just to reach out and burn her. It is what it is, I guess.
No, she was the one burning, not burning other people.
No, but that's what I'm saying. To reach out and burn her. Like, she reached out to her and then just started burning.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's
Just story number 14.
You know, when you're right, you're right. We were building an addition on the back of the house, and there was a fight with our neighbors because she was using our trash bin without asking permission.
Dude, what
I mean, that's just a
fucking cunt move.
dick move. Just ask. If my neighbor came over and was just like, hey, can I throw something in your trash? I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
But if my neighbor just came over and started throwing shit in there, I'd just be like, yeah, what the fuck,
Dude, what
man?
the fuck's your problem?
Yeah, like,
Fuck's your problem, bro?
right. When we went out to complain, she said that whoever was going to live in the addition would be haunted, just because we'd messed with her. We laughed about it in the construction community, but every damn day my dogs would begin barking at the place uncontrollably. It got to the point where my dad went out and found a folk healer. Only after that, the dogs stopped being afraid of the addition. And that is from Anna Carolyn Mora.
All right, Anna, your neighbor is a cunt with a capital C.
Yeah. Your neighbor really
Like,
sucks.
your neighbor fucking hexed your house addition because you yelled at her for throwing stuff in your trash bin. Fuck your neighbor.
Yeah. Like, I can sympathize. I've had some bad neighbors in the past, but I think that takes the cake.
Dude, that's a dick move.
Yeah.
Story number 15. In the house where I used to live, there was a little boy's ghost who I sometimes saw. The first time was when I had some friends over. It was just the three of us until I saw the reflection of a boy wearing old-fashioned clothes. I was floored and told my friends. Suddenly, a pot on the kitchen counter was hurled through the air. It scared the crap out of us. The other time was when I was in my room, listening to the radio. I had left the door open and saw this boy looking at me from the doorway. Fuck, dude, I got chills. That's weird. When I went to see him, he took off running. I thought it was my brothers, but they were in the living room watching TV. Years later, I found out that my cousin saw him too. She described him perfectly to me, even though I'd never told anyone about it before. If that's true, Natalia Faro Borges. If that's true, like the cousin part, if the cousin part is true, then I'm all about this one.
Yeah, that's fair. Because that's like a corroborated story without
Yeah,
talking about it.
Man, that one creeped me out. That one got me a little bit as I was
Yeah.
reading it. That one got me a little.
Again, I have a hard time believing like when stuff gets hurled through the air like
yeah,
that.
that one, that part of it kind of took me out of it for a minute, but yeah, seeing the reflection and seeing something stare at you. But the kid chased after the thing that was in his doorway, not Alex's piece of shit father who just went back to bed in the middle of the night with his kids in the house. 2 kids in the house, and you got a fucking stranger in your doorway, and you go back to bed. Oh, God. Just because I'm in France.
It's in France. Just be here.
Whatever.
Yeah. So,
all right. That.
Well, real quick before we wrap up. Again, I've always been a skeptic of ghosts. Always. I have recently, just this year, moved into a new house. My house was built in the late 1800s in a part of New Hampshire that's very rich with history. Like there was settlements here before America was founded, kind of shit. So very, very rich with history. I have a very, very old house. Like I'm talking like the supports in my basement have bark on it, like tree bark on it.
Yeah, like it's fucking live edge.
The beams to my roof, bark on some of them. Like it's old ass house. That being said, I do sometimes get odd feelings in my house. I do sometimes have weird noises that I can't explain. But it's nothing to me where it's just like I need to get a priest in here.
Right.
I need to go investigate it. Like
you're also
sometimes
not
I'll
a
hear
super religious dude either.
Well, right. So like, I'll hear a thump upstairs and I'm just like, what the fuck was that? And I'll go upstairs, I'll check it out. Can't figure it out, and I just go, And I joke with my significant other. I say, well, it was just the ghost. The ghost is making a noise up there. Just making light of the situation. And another thing that is weird is this room that I recorded. My dog gets the most uneasy feeling in this room.
Really?
I could tell she's uncomfortable in this room. Sometimes she comes up here and stands in the doorway and just barks into this room. But she's also a fucking chihuahua. So
barks at anything.
Right, exactly. Really, like literally barks at anything. So that being said, there are times where I like get a weird uneasy feeling in this house. I'm sure something's going on. I wouldn't be shocked because I have a dirt floor basement. I wouldn't be shocked if there was family members from a past family buried down there. I would not be shocked at all. I really wouldn't.
You should get like a metal detector or something, or not necessarily metal, but those machines where like they can just like give you
they survey the ground.
Yeah, like it looks like a metal detector, but it actually just shows you like what's underneath the ground, like if there's anything there that's more dense than dirt.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Although in New England that means you're gonna pick up like every fucking rock underground too, but
yeah. I mean, it is the
but it's worth a shot. Maybe you can rent one or something for a day.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, I mean that being said, I don't know if anything weird has happened in this house. I've never just like all these people are like, we looked it up and found that somebody burned to death in the house. We looked it up, someone was murdered and raped in the house. Like I never looked it up, so I don't know how easy that is.
You should look it up.
Yeah, maybe I'll look it up and follow up with this.
Yeah,
and
we should do that. Let's do that. Because the dog barking thing is the one that always gets me. Like, because animals have that kind of sense of like weird or evil, like dogs and horses and shit. Like they get uneasy before shit starts happening, and like, they just kind of know. But I will say this also, as a licensed realtor in the state of Connecticut, old houses make noise.
Yeah.
Period.
That is dead ass true.
Just period. Old houses make noise. It's weird. Yep. Shit happens. Dude, I have had... My house is only 25 years old. My house is 25 years old. And I hear shit in my house. Like, I hear little critters running. Like, I thought I had mice in the attic. And don't get me wrong, I live in New England.
Mhm.
Every house has mice, especially in Ridgefield. In Ridgefield, you have mice, period. It's about maintaining maintaining control and making sure they don't reproduce, right? But all the mice in my house have been limited to this floor that I'm in right now, which is my house is built into a hill. So this is technically the basement, but part of it is like level, which is how they get in. I've never had a mouse on any other floor. And this, I've heard the mice in the attic. Like, I've heard critters in the attic. I don't go to check that shit out. I don't care. They're in the attic. Fuck them. They're in the attic. I call my exterminator. My exterminator comes. You know, they come 4 times a year plus an extra time if I call them. So I call them. They go up to the attic, and they're like, there's zero evidence of anything up here, period. Like, nothing is alive in this attic other than like bugs.
Sure.
You know? And like, you know, a fly or whatever. So like houses in general make noise.
Yeah.
They,
of course.
you know, wood creaks and whatever, but like old houses make noise, a lot of noise.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's just kind of how it is.
But yours is probably haunted. Sleep well.
Honestly, and the thing is, you know, we joke about the ghost all the time, but I always say it's just like, you know, I try not to be a threat to the ghost. I don't really believe, but it's just kind of like, hey, if you're here, we're just gonna have to coexist, and I ain't gonna mess with you. You ain't gonna mess with me.
If the ghosts, not all ghosts are evil or whatever either. Like sometimes just, you know, ghosts they're stuck or they're attached to this place and their spirit can't rest, so they're just kind of there. And you know, there's plenty of stories, I'm sure, of people just coexisting with ghosts.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, we had one today.
Don't be a dick. You know, please stop moving my table so that I, you know, hit my fucking hip on it every time I'm trying to piss in the middle of the night, and we're good.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
All right, that's how we're going to wrap up this time on the Mystery Inner History podcast. But we're going to end this week with a listener submission. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the program, this week's listener submission is from Justin Martell, and it is about his encounter with succubus. Absolutely.
Justin's a great guy. You can follow him on Instagram at Justin Martell. That's 2 L's at the end. He is the producer of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs on Shudder, author of the Tiny Tim biography Eternal Troubadour. Troubadour, Jesus.
Yes, Troubadour. Eternal Troubadour.
Yeah. The Improbable Life of Tiny Tim, and the co-founder of Ship to Shore Records. He's been a good friend of mine since 8th grade, and I just want to say thank you, Justin, for sending this in. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for supporting the show.
We really appreciate it, Chris.
Yes, we do.
You fucking selfish bastard.
I know, I am.
Be sure to check out our website, fourguysmedia.com for news updates and a list of all our podcasts. And we will see you next time. Bye.
I am Justin Martell, and this is the story of the succubus. I grew up in East Haddam / Moodus, Connecticut, and I lived there with my mother and stepdad in a new development on Westwood Drive. I had been born and had gone to elementary school in a nearby town called Norwich, and that's where my father stayed after we moved to East Haddam, Moodus area when I was in 5th grade. When I was 16 and just entering junior year in high school, my mother and stepdad moved to Atlanta to pursue a new job opportunity for my stepfather. So at that time, I had maybe like a year and a half left of high school, and I did not want to switch high schools and go to the high school where my dad lived in Norwich. So what my dad did was he rented out his house in Norwich to somebody, and then we rented a house in East Haddam to live just for that year and a half while I was finishing high school. So the house that we rented was a really old house. I'm pretty sure from the 19th century, probably early 19th century, and it was across the street from the Methodist church, and it was the old Methodist parsonage. So it just kind of, it was old and run down, and the owner did not, tend to it very well. The paint was peeling off the outside. The inside was desperately in need of repairs, and I know that the turnover rate was pretty high, just in the sense that people moved in and out of there fairly frequently. So I think he just felt he didn't even really need to do much upkeep on the house, because I think it was always scenarios where people were waiting for to move somewhere else or do something like that. So it was always like temporary housing for people. Let's see. So we moved in there probably in very early 2004. And as soon as we moved in, and it was just creepy again, like just run down, paint peeling, everything, really old fixtures on everything. And because it was the Methodist parsonage, in the shower, the tiles were actually done up so that it was like, there were white tiles, and then there was a black cross made of tiles in like the center. And it was your typical thing. There were just like a lot of just like really like large old trees surrounding the property. So it was always just kind of overcast and dark and dank and creepy and weird. And when I moved in there, people had told me like, "Oh, you're in that house, and that house is haunted, man." Because there was a couple people in the school who had lived in there for whatever reason or another. That house is haunted, and I'm like, I was like, I didn't really pay much attention to it or care. So, maybe like the first year goes by and it's like nothing other than just usual stuff. Like I had some friends who would come over, but like never actually stay the night. Like they'd lay down and go to sleep, and then like always end up leaving in the middle of the night and stuff. And, I don't know. But nothing had happened to me, other than sometimes just the place could be creepy. But old houses can be creepy. So, maybe about now a year in, things actually start getting weird. As I approached the end of high school and I started to get more stressed out about the prospect of going to college and I guess really starting my life, I got really anxious and kind of depressed about stuff. So I guess maybe my guard went down a little bit, and started fighting with my dad a lot in a way that we had never really fought before. So just overall, the kind of energy of everything sort of shifted in the house. And it was at this point that weird stuff started happening. And so it started with just these weird dreams where I would be approached by this like kind of sort of nondescript, like faceless almost, but highly sexualized female energy. And inevitably, in a dream, you start doing what you do with something like that in your dreams. And I would eventually always come to the realization, like, wow, this is weird. This feels really weird. This feels like really real. And then I would always wake up and find myself basically pinned to the bed in like a sleep paralysis sort of thing. And it just felt like, and it was very hard to get out of, and it felt very like violating and freaky. And I would always free myself from this, paralysis, and then, turn all the lights on, and oftentimes just sit up until, if it was like 3 or 4 a.m., I'd sit up until the sun came up and then go back to sleep. So I just didn't know, I didn't know what that was. But I didn't really want to say anything to anybody. And then my dad around that time sort of very casually said that he'd felt something like squirming around on him at night while he was sleeping, and that he had woken up with a large erection several times after feeling something like moving around on him. And so at that point I started doing some research and read about the succubus, and of course that was just what I sort of dubbed the whatever was going on in the house. And this was happening about once a week, to me at least, and I know it happened several times to my dad. But it was one of those things where we were going to be out of that house so soon that, I just decided we were going to deal with it. And then maybe a little while later, not too long after, but now we're like clearly in the summer, probably just like a month or two before we're supposed to move out and I'm to go to college. And I go to a party at my friend's house, and his mother worked for the town office and was kind of a busybody and kind of knew everybody. So I ran into a family there who we'd known pretty well, and this family were not like kooks in any way. And they had lived in the Methodist parsonage before us while they had been waiting for their new house to be built. And the dad comes up to me and he says, hey, how's that house working for you? And I'm like, not going to say anything about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's fine, whatever. And he's like, let me ask you a question. He's like, does a female ghost try to take your covers off of you at night while you're sleeping? And man, when he said that, it was like just chills, ran down my spine, and it was freaky. So, from that point forward, I refused to sleep in the house, and I would either sleep over a friend's house or I would literally sleep in my car parked in the driveway because I just refused to do it. And then we moved out maybe like a month later. And to this day, that's the only time in my life I've ever experienced anything like that. To this day, I would not say, this is maybe where I think we're about 15 years later, and I have never entered that house again. And I will never go into that house ever again. Like, you could not pay me. Maybe $1 million I'd go into the house and spend a night, but it would be rough. That's it. That's the story of the succubus.